Reddit, what's the worst way you found out a so was cheating on you? The guy she was cheating on me with had a GF. The GF keyed my car by mistake. There was surveillance video everywhere. Took police less than an hour to solve it. The police broke the news to me. They were very cool about it. Sounds like a rom-com, where you wind up falling in love with the girl who keyed your car. Heh, the GF was hot, but totally nuts. Had to take her to court to get her to pay for the damages. There was all sorts of drama. Got mobile phone bills over $700 for 2 months with a lot of 1-minute calls on it to Scotland. She thought 1 minute wouldn't show up on a bill. She'd call him and talk for 45 seconds. Hang up and call back. The kind of ironic thing is that the calls didn't show up. An unconnected call charge was on the bill. Phone company thought she was getting a message machine and was only charging the connect fee or something. She'd call him and talk for 45 seconds. Hang up and call back. I'm totally sorry about your situation, but that's funny that she did that. It would be annoying to have 45-second conversations repeatedly, especially if you imagine they went through all the phone call pleasantries each time. Hello. Hi. How's it going? Good. My dick's hard. You? I'm doing well. I can't wait to feel your dick inside me. Oh. Look at the time. I'll call you back later. Alrighty. Then. Talk to you later. Bye. /click. /ring ring. Hello. Hi. It's me. Sally. Oh. Hey Sally. How's your pussy lately? Still wet? Sure is. I'm squeezing my tits right now. That sounds great. Hey. Play with your left one for me. Will ya? Oh. I will. Anyway. Gotta run. Adios. It was good talking with you. Good night. /click. Her kid told me as I was babysitting. That kid is a bro. The best of brothers. I was buying a house at the time and was touring one with the realtor. The homie owner came home early and we got to talking. Turns out she worked with my girlfriend. I told her I was the boyfriend and she said, oh, so you are Tom. She told me all about you. Apostrophe. I'm not Tom. The homie owner went to her car and got on her phone. 20 minutes later I got a call saying my girlfriend wanted to break up. Couldn't agree more. Never saw her again. Yes, I'm Tom. What did she tell you about me? Where do I work and live? Apostrophe. What is my most feared torture? Apostrophe. Grad school. She went back to the sorority house because she wasn't feeling well. I finished some homework and turned on the TV to watch our college team play basketball. She was courtside with someone else. You should have called her and watched her reaction on TV as you broke up with her, or whatever you decided to do, and taped it in case it was hilarious. When my ex was giving birth to our only child, there were complications. They had to do an emergency C-section. When my daughter came out, she wasn't breathing on her own, and they rushed her to the infant ICU. My ex asked me to take pictures for her. I took 2 before they took my daughter away. I went to tell our parents what was going on. They wanted to see the pics. I scrolled too far and found pictures of her with an old ex from just a few months earlier in front of both our mothers. Right in the middle of all of this, I find out she was cheating. I then had to go back in the room where my daughter was still getting worked on and my ex was still cut open. I had to shut the duck up and deal with it. What should have been the best day of my life turned out to be one of my worst. Oh man. That's a nightmare of a day. It truly was. For those interested, I still tried to make it work. Only a month later I found out she had been with yet another ex. We broke up and I paid her child support. We agreed to do the co-parenting thing with just us, not involve the government. There was mistake 1. I had her 3 nights a week for the majority, and for 6 months of her first 2 years alive, I had her 6 nights a week. When I found out my ex was struggling, I started paying her an extra $50 a month to help out. In cash. Everything was cash. There's mistake 2. She lost her job around the time my daughter turned 2. Because she needed money, she went to the state and told them I never had any custody, and I had never paid her any money for child support. Both being massive lies. So my checks started getting garnished. They started taking back child support for the previous 2 years. Even though I always paid her more than what I was supposed to, my child support should have been $149. I paid $200 to be nice. They started garnishing $400 a month for back child support that had already been paid and was over double what it should have been. And $400 a month for current child support. I work in a call center. Car payment, rent, bills, and then I had to get an attorney, which turns out cost a lot. This crippled me. The part that hurts is trying so hard to be a good guy, even when you don't want to, and still being treated like the villain. But at the end of the day, I have a beautiful 3-year-old girl. When I pick her up, the reaction I get, I can't imagine anything like it. She screams daddy and runs at me like I'm a rock star or something. The best feeling in the world. It's indescribable. My ex has made it hard, but my daughter always makes it worth it. I found out after my girlfriend dumped me. All my friends were like, well, that's what happens when you're in an open relationship with 3 other guys. I was not in an open relationship to my knowledge. Apparently my girlfriend had told all my friends that we were open, so they knew about it and just assumed I was okay with it. She had some major bowels. Yeah, I have no idea how she pulled it off. I'm not oblivious by any means. Needless to say though, when news of that shit came down around her workplace, she lost a lot of face. I think she even had to quit and move. Don't know, don't care. Positive test for chlamydia. I found this out just days after she dumped me. I was tested before the breakup. I was faithful to her, and 2 doctors confirmed that there's only one way to get chlamydia, so in this case, cheating was biologically obvious. She said she was clean prior to meeting me, and I realized she could have had it for years with no symptoms. But I'd been having unprotected sex with her long enough where the doctor said I'd have started showing symptoms earlier if I'd have contracted it earlier. She did report to me about a month later. She was in such denial that she didn't even get tested right away, that her results were negative, and I should contact whoever I was sleeping with. Lies. To accentuate the level of denial I was dealing with, my ex is a ducking licensed nurse. I'm still pretty bitter about it, but I shouldn't be. The STD is gone. And it's kinda funny how science so simply confirmed gut feelings that I'd had for months. At least it was a treatable one and she didn't give you something worse. Hooray, antibiotics. Yep. No future awkward pre-sex conversations for me. The emotional damage she caused was rough. Though. The whole time she had been using her mental illness as a cop-out for why she was emotionally and sexually distant in the relationship, when in reality, she just had a self-destructive, unstable, insecure personality and settled for me because I was better than being alone. Actions trump words. People. Married for 12 years. Went upstairs to get an old phone to listen to some music on while I worked. Turned the internet on and was greeted by a lengthy Facebook Messenger conversation. Not the best day of our relationship. A very pregnant woman approached me and asked how I knew her boyfriend. She was talking about my boyfriend. We didn't know about each other. That guy must have been a time management wizard. How do you have 2 relationships? Question mark. Especially once people move in together, I have no idea how they pull it off. Full relationships. Cheating at a bar, or whatever I can fathom. If I spent a lot of my time away from our apartment, my GF spidey sense would be on high alert all the time. I'm already gone a lot of every day, though she is too. But I have to be for school, work, etc. There aren't enough hours in the day to cheat, even if I wanted to. I worked for my university, and that job paid for my education. His wife showed up at my work and started calling me a slut. I didn't even know he was married. By the time she was done, my boss, fellow students, and Professor Shaw knew. Almost lost my job and school funding because of it. You almost lost your job and funding because a married man lied to you? He's the one that cheated and got you in trouble. Arg. Sorry you went through that. That's terrible. She went down to Florida for a weekend with her best friend. She had mentioned she had an ex-boyfriend down there, but they were not going to meet up. I picked her up from the airport after her weekend getaway. We didn't talk the whole car ride home. That's how I knew. Edit. Grammar. Edit 2. Grammar. 14-year marriage. I was up in the NC mountains doing a 105-mile bike race. It was the hardest race I had ever done, but placed really high in the main field. My wife was supposed to pick me up at my friend's. When we got back, I called her phone to let her know my results, and when we were going to return, she never answered. My buddy took me home. My youngest daughter was there alone telling me that she had been trying to call her mom, but couldn't get in touch with her. She then went on to say that she even called the friend her mother was supposed to be with, but she told her that she knew nothing about it. When my wife finally came home, she made some shit excuse, but I confronted her and she confessed. She was cheating for 2 years behind my back, even had the guy over while I was gone to work. I've been single for 4 years now, happy as ever. Daughters live with me, ex-wife still with the same guy. 4 years after our marriage, 2 years into our marriage, so they have had a good run. This is what scares the hell out of me. You gave her 14 years. She is the mother of your kids. You trusted and loved her unconditionally, and after so long, the truth smacks you out of nowhere. Maybe it's because I'm going through a bad breakup myself right now, but the thought of giving someone so much, only to have this as a result, is terrifying. It is terrifying. But we have to put ourselves out there in order to experience the good as well, because we just don't know how things are going to end. In a sense, it's romantic. Life can be romantic. Life can be an asshole too. It's up to us to decide how we perceive it. Do we only want to see the bad, or are we willing to scrape off the barnacle and float peacefully? My story has so much more involved in it. So much I will never forget, but so much I won't allow to keep me down. Not only did she have an affair, but before that she got arrested for drugs, lost 2 good jobs, had our house almost foreclosed, put us in bankruptcy, had 2 cars repaired, had my credit tanked, then ran off with another man. But after it was all done, and I was on my own, tears streaming down my face as I tried to figure out what to do, I decided not to give up. For the past 4 years I scratched and dug and crawled back to a better life with very little help. I saved my home, made it a damn fine home on top of that. I got a new car. I paid off the bankruptcy. I started cleaning up my credit. I started dating again, and 8 months ago met the woman I hope to marry one day. My daughters look up to me, love and respect me. I don't let shit rattle me as much. I take charge more. I don't fear things. Life is ducking awesome, because I didn't let my story end in tragedy. I reworked the chapters to make it better. She came home from vacation. She wouldn't kiss me, or when they come back from vacation and kiss differently from how they ever kissed. Yeah, that too. I did eventually get my kiss, but it didn't feel right. How about years after the fact? When you find out the kid you have been raising isn't biologically yours, and everybody but you knew it and nobody wanted to be the one to tell you. How about years after the fact? When you find out the kid you have been raising isn't biologically yours. Relevant New York Times article. Who knew I was not the father? Link. nighttimes.com/2011/22/magazine/22 paternity t. HTML. R=0. Excerpt. Over the last decade, the number of paternity tests taken every year jumped 64% to more than 400,000. That figure counts only a subset of tests, those that are admissible in court and thus require an unbiased tester and a documented chain of possession from test site to lab, greater than sign. Other tests are conducted by men who, like Mike, buy kits from the internet or at the corner Rite Aid, swab the inside of their cheeks and that of their putative childs and mail the samples to a lab. Of course, the men who take the tests already question their paternity, and for about 30% of them, their hunch is right, greater than sign. Yet as troubled as many of them might be by that news, they are even more stunned to discover that many judges find it irrelevant. State statutes and case law vary widely, But most judges conclude that these men must continue to raise their children or at least pay support, no matter what their DNA says. The scientific advance that was supposed to offer clarity instead reveals just how murky society's notions of fatherhood actually are. Even in paternity cases simpler than that of Mike and Elle, non-biological fathers often feel like serial dupes. Their wives or girlfriends cheated on them. The children they thought worthless aren't, and yet they are required to support children they did not create. Greater than sign. Because nothing can be done about the cheating or the biological revelation. The men focus their indignation on the money, the urge to withhold every dime, lest it end up easing the mother's life, is hard to resist. Often the fight isn't really about child support, it's simply a way to channel rage about the woman's duplicity. Greater than sign. Some observers suggest that insisting these men pay child support will damage, rather than fortify the relationship between father and child that society seeks to preserve. As Alaska's Supreme Court concluded in a decade-old paternity case, making a non-biological father pay might itself destroy an otherwise healthy paternal bond by driving a destructive wedge of bitterness and resentment between the father and his child. High school GF. At her aunt's funeral. I live in Ohio. She lived in Pennsylvania with her mom, but her dad and best friend, who I was also friends with and that's how we met, lived in the same neighborhood as me, so we were doing the long distance relationship thing for a few years. Anyways, her aunt passes. I take time off work and drive myself and her cousin to PA to attend the funeral. Arrive at her aunt's house where all of her family from out of town were meeting and staying for the funeral the next day. There is a guy there that she is hugging on when I walk in the door. Tells me not to worry. He's her cousin she hasn't seen in a couple years. No worries. I understand, I tell her. Fast forward to the next day. At the funeral home. She is being distant and basically ignoring and avoiding me, but every time I find her she is with this guy that is supposedly her cousin. I chalk it up to her being upset. She was close to her aunt. Her cousin that I took with me asked me to go out to my car and grab his cell phone he left in the glove box, and there I find her, giving her cousin head in the backseat of my car. So, not only did she cheat on me, she cheated on me with someone she told me was her cousin. In the parking lot of the funeral home. At her aunt's funeral. In the backseat of my car. Please click subscribe if you enjoyed this video.